Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pura Vida podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that you're here listening, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we have another beautiful special guest, and I will introduce her in a moment. I want to let you know a little bit about Pura Vida. We are located on South Detroit Avenue, right next to Ernest Brew Works. We're right off the Anthony Wayne Trail in South Toledo, and we would love to see you here one day. We offer many wellness classes and services. We have yoga, meditation, sound healing, massage therapy, Reiki, etc. So much more. And we are one of the most affordable studios in the area. So we want to make sure that everybody gets the wellness that they need. And we have a beautiful, affordable price of $30 per month. You can come in and take any class with that. And then for $60 per month, you can come in and take any class, as well as get a monthly one-on-one service of massage, sound therapy, or Reiki. So those are our pricing options. We would love to have you come in. We also have many, many events, especially sound healing events. And our guest today actually does some of our events. We have art therapy here from time to time, and I'm so excited to welcome Kayt to our podcast today. She has been a client for a little while now, and I love being around her. I love her energy, and it's just awesome to have you on the show, Kayt. So welcome.
You. I'm glad that you asked me to do this.
Yeah, me too. Um, so you wear many hats as an art therapist. You host events here at Pura Vida, and you're a mom, and you're a part of our wellness community as a client, and I'm sure the list goes on. But can you start by telling us a little bit about who you are and what inspired you to become an art therapist?
Sure. So I'm Kate, and I am a mom and an art therapist, as you said. But I have been in the field for about like 5 years, 3 year plus three of like school. So I'd say like eight so far. But before that, I went to Bowling Green for fine art. So that was kind of like my undergrad. And I just kind of realized that I don't want to be like a full-time artist. I love making art, but it was just a lot of pressure. There was a lot of like focus on the product and just like what the artwork looks like and the selling ability, like those kind of factors. And it just wasn't for me. And so when I was introduced to the art therapy world, it was kind of like a light turned on. Just kind of merging my two favorite things, like people, working with people, and then art. And it really, I realized that like this world had kind of already touched me like several years ago when I was working at a daycare for like 8 years. I worked with some kids who were in the foster care system, and I was kind of an art instructor there, and we did art just every day one summer with these girls that were in the foster care system. And I just watched how they kind of like opened up and just really were enveloped in the art world and just sitting there with me all summer, like doing arts and crafts. Wouldn't be called art therapy yet, but just like I got to kind of experience how it helped them. Um, and so that was kind of something that really pushed me into the field. As I started getting my degree, I had some imposter syndrome about like being a therapist. Like, how could I do that? That's a lot of pressure. But it just kind of, they always say, like in our program, it's like trust the process. And so I did. And it really was amazing, like kind of shifting gears for me to like instead of view art by like before we made it in school, it was like, what does this mean? Like before you even get started creating it. And it's like, I don't know, like I haven't even made the art yet. So then in college, it's just like make the art, like intuitively let it like flow, and then you can figure out what it means to you, if anything. And so it's been like kind of building my brain backwards from the start, but it's all relevant, all important. I love the fine art world as well. But
Yeah.
this is more fitting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so beautiful. I love how like creativity and healing intersect in your world. And I've gotten to see that firsthand. And but some people might not be familiar with it. So like how would you describe art therapy to someone new, like new to the concept?
So art therapy is all about the process. It's a lot about the process. I try to have people focus on that. It's more about the experience, how you feel when you're making art. Art therapy is always with a licensed art therapist. So if anyone is kind of saying they're doing art therapy, but they aren't a licensed therapist, they're actually probably doing either like teaching art classes or they're doing art in like with therapeutic aspects, like it might be like Zen Tangle, if you've heard of that, like doodling. That would be like that's therapeutic. Doing any kind of art is therapeutic. But art therapy is specifically with a licensed practitioner who has a master's degree in art therapy. I happen to have a dual degree art therapy and counseling. But so art therapy again is more about the creative process. So a lot of times I will provide the tools and materials and the structure and just kind of let people, my clients, kind of follow their own creative intuition. It's just kind of gently guided by me, and I'm kind of explore art, get familiar with it. There's all kinds of things we use it for, whether it is like stress relief, whether it's going through some kind of exploring your past of trauma, whether it's working with someone who has a cancer diagnosis, grappling with grief. Um, it's like you said, I wear many hats. I'm a contracted art therapist, so I do lots of group work primarily throughout the community, and I work at several different places with several different populations.
Mhm.
So it's really different for everyone. It's a hard question to answer just because I really encourage everyone to try it before kind of looking up the definition because it's very just a unique field. And
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, I know for with my experience, I was actually seeing an art therapist for a little while and then our schedules just didn't match up anymore. But I'm looking for a new one now. And when I was going, I was open to a whole new can of worms. It's a whole new world like within and of itself. And I was just shocked about how much art really does just mirror, what's going on internally. It's like an expression of it coming out.
yeah, I
And
think it's a lot of the subconscious, like thoughts or feelings or experiences that we have that we don't really realize are kind of sticking with us or like underlying motives or just like things that are going on, and they might not be things that you realize right away. It might be like a week from now after you created something like, oh my gosh, like I was going through this at the same time I made that and didn't even like make the connection there.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know too, like when I did one of my pieces and when I was there, I she was like, art is just a how did she use the words? Let me think of it really quick because it was so good. It's a like uh
Like a tool.
it's a tool, but a something of movement, a record of movement.
Okay.
Yeah, a record of movement. And so as I was going through my art therapy process, she would be like, okay, art is a record of movement. So, like, how are you feeling right now? Or she would just say, what do you feel like drawing? Or what do you feel like? And,
And I,
sometimes I would do like zigzags because
Mhm.
I'm feeling super like chaotic and stressed. And I'm just like, oh my God, I have so much going on. And like
Right.
everything's moving so fast.
Definitely a
And
mind and body connection will definitely redirect you to your body and like what you're experiencing. There's a lot of like neurodevelopment like that's going or like understanding of like even development in general to be able to help people figure out what material they're going to use that's going to like kind of, if someone is like feeling very emotional, I might not provide them with like paint or something messy because it might be really frustrating, or just like there might be too much coming out and it's a little harder to like, you might want something that's more controlled, like color pencil, you might feel different on a different day. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And one thing I like to share too is that as an art therapist, it's kind of misunderstood that we're kind of like looking at what you're creating and saying like, oh, this means that you are super, depressed. I mean, there are things that we might pick up on, but we're going to be looking at several works of art over the course of, several weeks to kind of determine those things. And talk to the patient or client about it, because it's not like I'm going to just sit there and perceive everything. You're the like the artist, you're the person that is experiencing this. So you're the only person that really knows what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That's how I felt. Like everything felt so just like open and so non-judgmental, and it just felt like just put some pencil to the paper and or collect some objects and put them together in a collage, and everything. Yeah, sometimes we would draw out how I was feeling currently. Sometimes we would just say, okay, what are we feeling like doing today? And then maybe it meant something like later on, like you said. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it was just I needed to draw today. And yeah, she would use the strokes and say, like, are you feeling fast? Are you feeling slow? Are you feeling, you know, zigzaggy or curvy or
Yeah.
um
Another example, like for me, since I had my kids are young, it's hard for me to do things that I used to, like painting or like drawing, just because that takes a lot of time or like attention, or it's messy. And so now that I have kids, I've been doing a lot more fiber arts because I find that I can just put it down, or it's kind of comforting, soothing, in the way that it can be repetitive, or just like soft fibers, those kind of things. So really just like it's a very intuitive process. And I how I do my groups or like in person and individual clients, it's very client led. I'm very uh client centered. So that means like they're kind of in control of where they want to go. And I'm just kind of providing the space and kind of holding the space for them, um, in a way that feels safe and approachable. Because sometimes, just like you wouldn't want to like delve through your trauma, on your own, you don't want to do that. It's a very similar experience, but with the art, it gives a voice to things that we don't really always have the words for,
hmm
which is a pretty big motivator for some people who are a little uncomfortable with traditional talk therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's such a good point. I know people who maybe have such traumatic events happening throughout their life. Even people who just, we all have our own level of trauma and nothing is higher or lower level. But it's just a matter of what coping mechanism works for us for sure, and maybe it's a multitude of them. We usually is. and and yeah, I think art therapy is such a good mechanism to use to really get in. I think it really, I mean, I'm sure there's so much science behind it, but I think it really does like repattern your brain in a lot of ways. And
Yeah, like you were saying before, kind of art really does parallel life. So like if there's a lot of like problem solving in art too. So, and the way we approach it, if something frustrates us, it's about how we handle it from there. If we can practice that in our artwork, by like kind of bringing our nervous system back to a state of regulation when we get frustrated while making art, it can kind of help us in everyday situations where we might get overwhelmed, and kind of teach us that we are capable of self-regulating and calming our nervous system on our own.
absolutely. Yeah. I've always felt art that art holds such a special power, and And yeah, moving into like you hold some events here and your events here really reflect that power that art has. We did a Zen garden one time, and then the other time we did a body mapping exercise, which I found extremely powerful for my own self, and I was the one giving the sound bath. We did a body mapping before and after a sound bath. And but yeah, can you share more about, the types of art therapy events or workshops you host here and or other places as well?
Yeah, so I at Pura Vida, I did the Zen gardens. We talked about like where Zen gardens originate, which is Japan, and like what they're used for to they're kind of like a contemplative, like meditative space. And we kind of made a small version of that to take home with sand and crystals that Pura Vida provided. And we decorated the box and like a background to kind of look into our safe place, like a place that feels comforting for us that we can always return to in our mind's eye, maybe when we're in a state of dysregulation. So those workshops are generally 2 to 2.5 hours. And I bring you through like a short guided meditation occasionally, like for that one I did. And then with some of the psychoeducation about how it can be beneficial. And then a majority of the time is just creating and making
Hmm.
art. And then I'm just kind of popping around, making sure everyone's got what they need, providing things when you're kind of stumped or don't really know where to go with it. But typically, I see anyone who especially when people are kind of self-led to these groups, they already have a lot of creative um, intuition, so they're kind of already doing their own thing, don't need a lot of help. But it's this is a good kind of segue for me to kind of share like doing 2 hours of anything creative during the week gives your body overall healing benefits like lowering blood pressure, lessening cortisol, improving concentration, lessening depression and anxiety. Those are some big ones that they see. I'm doing at least 2 hours of anything creative. So it could be like drawing, painting, of course, like the traditional art. It could be like baking, gardening, playing an instrument, listening to music, working on a car. Like the list goes on and on for what feels creative to you. But they see that you can get in what's called a creative flow state. You're losing track of time. You're just really enjoying yourself. Your body's kind of hitting the pause button on stress, anxiety, trauma, things that just tend to pop up without us even noticing, when our bodies get tight or tense and you hear like, or you probably see things online that's like, take a deep breath, like relax drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth, those kind of things. And we realize like, wow, I am pretty like stressed out. Well, these kind of experiences are things that are going to help regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
But to continue answering your question, so I work at a counseling center anchored in hope. I do weekly groups there for children's, teens, and adults. I work at the Victory Center. It's a nonprofit for individuals in the community diagnosed with cancer and their families. So I do groups there. I do individual counseling there. It's all free of charge for those individuals. And then I do a group a month at Toledo Clinic in their oncology building in Maumee. And then, yeah, I work at the Toledo Public Libraries every once in a while. It just kind of is some of those pop up every now and then when I feel like I have the energy to do them. And then some of them are more like consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a lot that you do around the community. And yeah, like these events that you have, they're always so like I mean the ones that I've been to, it's so unique and deeply nourishing and yeah, and you kind of already touched on it, but what do you hope people walk away from after your events?
So Some of the groups are a little more structured, so they, I might have like some like extra psycho ed, some extra like activities to like get into the artwork, and then we do the artwork, and they might be more focused on things like trauma, anger, depression. So, but the ones that are more community based that I do are more focused on relaxation, just kind of reawakening that creative spark. That's really my number one thing is that if you receive anything from the groups that I offer, that it's that your like creative spark has been kind of turned back on.
Yeah.
Because there are people that come that are just like, I love art, but I just haven't had time. And like, I haven't been able to feel like this in a long time. So they're really happy. And I just love hearing like, after I went to your group, I ended up like starting quilting again. And like, I haven't
Yeah.
so long. And it's just like, sometimes when you're feeling depressed or anxious, it really can turn off that light because it just shuts down that area of the brain. I used to work at a hospital with people who were going through uh, just some intensive treatment, and they really found that just like I would just do like one workshop there, and they were like, "Wow, I needed this," and they were very skeptical at first. And it's really not like not tooting my own horn. That's not just me. That's the art, like speaking for itself.
Mhm.
Just the using both hands, using both sides of your brain, and just letting yourself be creative and make things because that's what like humans are creatively inclined to make things. And like in our society, that's not always what our workforce is or
No.
you know, just kind of depends.
Yeah, it's really not. We are not encouraged to use our creative side of our brain often as in our society. And man, it's so important. And just using both sides of the brain. I mean, I'm in sound therapy, and I practice and music. I'm a musician, and I also practice sound healing, and I give sound baths. And one of the things that I learned in sound therapy was the corpus callosum, which is that, for those of you who don't know, it's that middle part of your brain where the left and right brain connect. And a lot of us, we have like a shut off right there in that middle part of our brain, and the our two parts of our brain aren't communicating like correctly to each other because we're just so shut off to our own creativity, our own like flow state, like you said. We're just tuned in constantly to stress. We're tuned in constantly to like what needs to be done. How do we, because I mean that's just how it's set up, and it's unfortunate. It's definitely an epidemic.
We're
And
constantly looking for danger, like biologically, to like protect ourselves, and like we get in fight or flight mode. So really all about regulating our nervous system and engaging in more creative practices. I mean, like our first languages as children are art, music, dance,
absolutely.
all the creative things that we're like inclined to do. And as we get older, especially we see like kids who, by the time they're like, kids are very creative. They love to make things, they love art a lot of the times. And by the time they get to be teens, they start to be kind of self-conscious of what they're creating. They're noticing that other people might have like a more advanced skill level. And like also in art class, it's being graded, right? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
there, unfortunately. And so then we're hard on ourselves, just naturally. So that kind of shuts down some of that creative interest. It's
Hmm.
really about like getting, like, I can't tell you how many times I've had like older men who are like, man, I haven't done this since I was in high school. And
Yeah.
they're the ones that came in like, I don't want to do any of this art. Like, oh, and then by the time they're like, I really enjoyed that. That was really nice, and I'm
Right.
trying something on because it's not really, once they realize it's not about skill, it's not about like what it looks like. And then it's just about that feeling that you have inside when you get that creative spark turned on. That's when they can let go. I do have people that really struggle with that, the perfection.
Yeah.
And we continue to work on that. And, I'm definitely can relate to that because I definitely have perfectionist qualities too myself. I think that's why art therapy was so beneficial to me to realize that I don't have to be perfect all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I can also, I mean, I'm sure a lot of us can. I can also relate to the perfectionist thing. And you know me, I do beach glass art, and I'm also in a jewelry class right now at the art museum and I'm trying to make beach glass jewelry. And like, I, those are very creative, expressive ways to, um, just let your brain go and get in that flow state. And sometimes it's hard um to just start. Like it's hard to like sit down and start because like I'm already automatically thinking about what is it gonna look
So
like.
what
And
I'm
it's
gonna recommend for that, so a lot of my groups, I do like a warm up prior to any art making. Just like in a workout class, you have like a warm up, but I tell everybody, okay, you're not going to do calisthenics, but we're going to be doing like things to start connecting our minds with our hands. One of the things, like it's always different, but one of the things that can be really beneficial is just like bilateral drawing. So you have like two drawing utensils in each hand and you just get a piece of paper and you're using like larger motor movement to start like connecting the both sides of your brain so that like the
wow.
flow can start taking place. So that's like bilateral movement in general. Like if you are familiar with EMDR or like other trauma reprocessing, bilateral movement or like tapping are big
Hmm.
things like the vibrating, but this is just drawing with both hands just to kind of awaken things, just like you were talking about earlier. But there's all kinds of like little, it does just kind of waking up with, you know, no, like you don't have to come up with a big idea right off the bat. It's just, let's just kind of like wake things up in our body.
Yeah, I love that. And I love like easing into it. I love that so much. I'm definitely gonna try that out.
Yeah,
Um,
because if you think about it, like just like I said, like with the workout class, you don't get into the like nitty gritty right away. Like you have to like really warm up and lubricate your joints and get going before like you can do things. Otherwise, it isn't, you can pull a muscle. So it's
right.
kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah, man, I really love that analogy because yeah, there are times where it's like I just try to like force myself through it and it's like I do feel like I'm pulling a muscle in a way. It's like a tension that comes through me instead of just like okay, but yeah, but yeah, thank you for that. Suggestion. I'm totally going to use that. And I'm sure people out there are going to use it as well because our community here at Pura Vida is also very creative. We're literally in the middle of right now a co-create art space. And this is what I'm doing today for my creativity is this podcast. Um, but we have people here who are just doing art together and this is a good way to just plug that in. So it's every Monday 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And if you have anything that you're working on creatively, um, whether that be crochet or knitting or literally anything that you're working on, you can bring in. We also have art supplies here if you're not working on anything, but you just want to be in this creative atmosphere. It's so helpful to be around others while you're creating. I think that's another thing that just kind of gets you out of your brain and into the flow state as well. Um, and I know I experienced that in your workshops too, just being around others who are also creating. It's powerful. So, but Kayt, you're also a client here at Pura Vida. And this makes your presence even more special. So what has it meant for you both personally to be a part of this community and professionally? As someone seeking your own wellness and professionally.
Well, I've been like kind of searching for a group like that or like a space like this for a really long time. Maybe like my whole life. I don't know. Like Um, I've always felt a little bit different, just like a little neurodivergent, also like creative side of my brain is always on. So like just wanting like a space of like-minded people. The first time I ever experienced that was probably when I went to college for my art therapy degree and I was like, oh my God, all these people like the same stuff as I do. But like then once I like experienced that and realized, okay, like I'm not alone. There's other people that have like some quirks and like are really creative and just are really interested and intuitive and like want to know more about the world and the universe and like care about other people and help them. I kind of started like opening up more spiritually, and like kind of connecting with that through my artwork. I've had a lot of like really big aha, like spiritual awakenings through art. But I actually, sorry, this kind of like going back a little bit, but this is really what kind of led me to this space. So when I was 15, I got in a car accident and was I kind of flipped my car and my body just kind of got beat up. I never got like I didn't get anything looked at because I just wanted to go to school and like hang out with my boyfriend at the time. Like it was just like, okay, I'm fine. I just want to go. Well, it turned out that I had some like pretty significant damage in my neck. And so ever since then, I've been struggling with neck pain. Um, and really like those like that physical ailment just really was hard on me with like it would always get worse when I'm under stress. And so I've been trying all sorts of things like I don't know, just all kinds of therapies and just nothing really was helping. So I'm like, maybe I should get into yoga again. I've always liked yoga. So I came to this an event where with oh, there was like you had music and yoga at the same time. That was like my
Yeah, with no one else and
yes. And so I went with a friend and just really liked the space immediately. Um, so like it wasn't, I like that it, of course I came for like yoga to like kind of work on like physical ailments, but like as soon as I like kind of stepped in there, I'm like, wow, this like space just feels like really nurturing to like my soul as well. And it became more about like of like a complete healing than it is just, more holistic healing than it was just like the physical. So after that, I just started coming to different things and trying different things. And I really have enjoyed the classes of Michaela, the meditation Reiki. That's really like opened so many doors for me spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, like all things like really getting to know my chakras and just like learning about energy and realizing that I am very sensitive to it and I always have been. But I love the yoga classes, just everything about it just feels safe and welcoming and it's just like a really great community to kind of like hold me when I'm not in the best state mentally or physically. Like this job is really hard working with people who are going through a lot of really hard things. So it's been a really good way for me to like reset my nervous system a couple times a week, pop in for like Reiki meditation and yoga. So
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that really shows like how we're all connected on this journey and like this journey of healing and just how we all hold space for each other in different ways and yeah, it's pretty incredible. Um well, what are you like currently excited about in your own work or your upcoming offerings? What are you most excited about right now?
hmm. Well, this Saturday we have a group for macrame. We're doing macrame plant holders. So that is another like group that I do at the Victory Center. I know how to do macrame just for like my own interest. And so I had a lot of people there asking me to teach some macrame classes. So, and they're really well liked and everybody really enjoys just like a different craft to kind of try out. But so we have that at Pura Vida this Saturday. 6 p.m. Then this summer I'm doing a day treatment program through Anchored in Hope. That's for children and teens. And some groups for just all different topics. And I'll be at Toledo Public Libraries this summer doing the Zen Gardens,
Awesome.
just kind of doing my regular things. I'd like to kind of add some more things at Pura Vida as we go throughout this summer. Have some cool ideas.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, we got to get those up and running and going. It's been a little crazy here at Pura Vida lately, and so we are definitely ready though to start getting more of these workshops up and going and running. And yeah, I'm so excited for everything that you're creating and um, yeah, everything that you're doing. I have two more questions for you. Um, the first one being, where can people find you if they would like to work with you?
So I am on Facebook. That's probably the best way to find me, just facebook.com/create with Kayt. And I spell Kayt, Kayt. So a little bit different. And then I'm also on Instagram, create with Kayt as well. If you go to anchoredinhopecounseling.com, I'm also on there, but I do groups there. And then I'm also at the Victory Center. So if you know anybody who is undergoing a cancer diagnosis, those services are available. We have a location in Perrysburg, Toledo, and Defiance. And they have all sorts of things. They have massage, reflexology, Reiki. It's not just art therapy, support groups. It's a really, really good resource in the community.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll have those links in the show notes. And before we wrap this up, is there any message you'd like to share with our community? Just any last words, something about the importance of creativity or healing or expression?
Yeah, I mean, if you're feeling like that creative block, I guess like one of my biggest things that I like as a motivator is to think about just kind of bring yourself back to a state of where a time in your life where like creativity or motivation, whether whatever it is, like a state where you just felt like complete bliss, and just reminding yourself that once you get started and get in those environments and allow yourself to experience them, that you will be in that state again. It won't always be that block. It'll obviously come and go, but just reminding yourself of what it feels like afterwards. That's how kind of another way I get myself to like exercise and do things is to just remember like I never regret it at the end. So
Yep.
if you're having a hard time doing it on your own, that's when like going into a group atmosphere is going to be really, really helpful to you.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for your wise words, Kate. And you just bring so much radiant and creative energy to Pure Vida, and we're so grateful to have you in this space. So thank you for being part of our community. And yeah, we will make sure that everyone gets those links down in the show notes again. And thank you everyone for tuning in to the Pura Vida podcast today. And we'll see you next Friday. An episode launches every Friday, except last week because I took the Friday off. But typically episodes launch every Friday. We will see you next Friday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was really nice.